Welcome to the podcast. This is a project that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I don't even have a name for it yet. But I do want to interview people that I meet in my X journey that I connect with and I find super interesting. I think those people can provide a lot of value to the world, and I like to give them a platform to share their stories. Thanks for tuning in. All right, what's going on, Jake? Appreciate you jumping on here today. I'm definitely a rookie at this in the utmost sense of the word. So definitely got to get my routine down. So I really appreciate your patience with me here and just figuring all this out. But yeah, man. So you're Fit Dad Jake on X. You were one of the first people I came across back in the day. I think I had less than 50 followers, which now I'm still growing the account. But, you know, I was kind of just wanting to, this is like a project that I've wanted to do, and you're the first person to do it. So I really appreciate that, man. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So Jake, based here in Tampa, Florida. Long journey, but I guess I'll summarize it in the best way. Grew up in suburbs of Illinois. Went to school in Nebraska. Then I came back to Illinois. And really, that's kind of where I guess the second chapter of my life really started and kind of evolved into like what is my passion in life is really just fitness and being able to just have a daily discipline and being able to, I guess, in a sense, keep that going. I essentially graduated college. My wife, girlfriend at the time, followed me to Illinois, realized that everything that was going on in college wasn't going to be happening anymore. And so essentially I realized that, hey, I need to get life together and kind of figure it out. And I started like a lot of people do. I went to Planet Fitness for, several months. I was part of the 5 a.m. crew. So shout out to all the people that are crazy like me and love getting to work out at 5 a.m., especially when it's 10 degrees and, you got to bundle up. But I mean, yeah, I did that, bounced around to some fitness boutiques. And then I was traveling on a work trip one day and I came across through like an app. I think it was like Mind Body app. It could let you search when you're in an area, like different gyms. And so I was like, oh, cool. And it didn't have CrossFit. So I just assumed it was like kind of a HIIT style gym. And lo and behold, I ended up doing my first CrossFit workout and, the rest is history. And yeah, man, I've kept that up now for almost 6 years now. I've been coaching for 5 and I've loved it. And it's been, I guess just a staple part of my life, I guess, on X. People know me as the CrossFit guy and at my church and, local like communities and stuff like that. And, that's kind of where, we've gotten today. So
that's awesome, bro. It's a good story. So what year did you graduate in college?
I went the extra year plan. So I decided to, have a little extra fun. Everybody gets jokes for it, but, it happens to the best of us. But, graduated in 16. It's been a hot minute, but yeah, I'm still kind of in the young crew. I don't know, millennial, I guess. I don't really know nowadays. It's all like scrambled. So, but yeah, I mean, it's been good. So
yeah, man, you're a little bit younger than me. I was graduated in 2009. So it was just funny when I was in college, like last year in business, every basic talk that somebody gave was like, well, we would be hiring right now, but the economy. So you know how that is. So it was just kind of like, you're like, where do we even look for jobs? So you took the extra year plan. I spent about 2 or 3 more years partying after college and just like had no direction basically. It's like, it is what it is, man. Yeah. It's like you figure it out as you go. What's the vibe in Tampa, man? I had a friend that lived there and he moved back to Mississippi on the coast, but I've heard Tampa's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, we've been here, it'll be 6 years in January and I've loved it. I've got most of my family down here besides my wife's side of the family. And yeah, I mean, I have no reason to leave. I mean, it's like we're 15 minutes from the beach. We've got a house. It's been good. Honestly, it's crazy how much it's evolved and changed. People that have lived there most of their life or been here longer than we have, say, oh yeah, it was completely different. Obviously COVID kind of changed a lot of things and mindset as far as people. Got the people from New York, Ohio, Canada even, and they're just like, yeah, I can't live in the cold anymore or do this anymore. So I'm just gonna move on
Yeah, dude.
down to Florida and try to make it a life. And thankfully we got in at the right time because it's a little
Yeah.
crazy, but we're happy to be here and happy to call it home. So
Nice, man. Yeah, I have a buddy who lives in Orlando, and he's just been telling me about the real estate market for the last couple of years. So
yeah, yeah. I try to stay out of that talk because it was a joke and it's still the joke is that you're 6 degrees, of Kevin Bacon from knowing like a real estate agent here in Florida. So that's, it's like your next door neighbor probably knows like a real estate agent and they could probably help you. So
for sure, man.
kind of funny, but
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll see
So.
how it goes over the next couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. I'm just glad I bought when I bought, and glad that I made it down here before the mass exodus from everywhere else in the world. So
Yeah, man. Got it in the right
yeah,
time. So speaking of
yeah,
Florida,
exactly.
one of the first things that I was looking at, I know that's like our first interaction. I would say is like I messaged you because you were raising money for hurricane victims at the time, and
Yeah,
then I was kind of wondering if you could talk about the impact that you made with that.
yeah. I mean, that was really cool. I mean, it's crazy because we obviously just had like our most recent hurricane, and I'm like completely drawing a blank on the names, but yeah, I mean, it was last year. We obviously had the one that was coming to possibly hit Tampa for the first time in like 50 years, and then all of a sudden it decided to just shift course and basically go down to like the Fort Myers area, and it ended up hitting them and completely avoiding us. But obviously the impact was, devastating, I guess, from that perspective. And yeah, I had a coworker who lived down in the Sarasota area who worked with me at my previous job at my 3PL. And I asked him, I said, hey, my church is going down if you want to come with. And he was, the most open person to it. He even like brought up his tools. He did landscaping and it was awesome. And yeah, I just put it out there to, just reach out because obviously when you see something like that that's very close to home, it's obviously very different when you live in Illinois and then you see it from afar and it's so distant from you. But when that could have been easily us
Yeah,
and it had, just kind of turned up your world for, a month, probably even a year, with insurance and all of that craziness, it just kind of puts things into perspective. You want to be able to help. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for having to pay bills and having to, have to take care of my family, I would have done it a lot longer. I did it for a full day. And I mean, it's crazy to think the little the little impact goes a long way, but how little it is compared to like the grand scheme of everything that
yeah,
needed to be done.
yeah.
And it was really cool. I mean, I think we ended up raising like, a couple grand and was able to donate that to a local church, able to like buy supplies to like give to people that we helped out down there and be able to just do what we could. And, I went down there again, when the most recent hurricane hit as well too. And you just do what you can because you never know, like the next year it could be us. And yeah, it's the price you have to pay living in paradise, but obviously you try to do what you can to help out. So
Yeah, that was really cool. I know for us, we had Harvey back in 2017 here in Houston.
mhm.
Depending on what neighborhood you were in, those were the ones that got it pretty bad. But it was just
Yeah.
like you could drive around and see all the people's stuff just like scattered out in the yard or just put up in a pile for the trash to pick up. And
Oh yeah.
that was definitely way crazier to see. We bought our house in 2020, right before the real estate market started going crazy. But I remember there was a hurricane coming like the weekend we moved in. And so we were kind of freaking out. And it just turned the last day because it was supposed to be pretty strong, 3, 4, 5, something like that. And then it just turned like
Yeah.
the next day. And so it's like you said, it's all like it could be you or like it could go somewhere else. But I definitely like Texas for the weather. Like today, it's probably 50 to 60 degrees in the fall. I wanted to kind of go back to what you're saying is like with the impact of on a mass level, it's kind of humbling to see how, those types of things are like, dude, there's so much that needs to be done. But then I guess like on an individual level too, you really make more of an impact on like the individual, I would say, especially with a $2,000 contribution like that. It's like, you might not see as much
Right.
of an increase or dent with like all the things that need to be done, but like on an individual level, like that could have meant the world to somebody.
I don't know. I think it's just the way that, like, sometimes with life too, I think about it. I was just listening to a podcast today that it's like we could get caught up in like the outcomes of work and, a workout that we didn't win or we lost, family time, things like that. I mean, we could just get caught up in everything, but it's really when we just take the time to just pause for a second and just be able to reach out to someone. And and I'm guilty of it too. It was funny because it made me think about it, where I'm just like, it's I find myself probably staring at Twitter too much, trying to like, you know wheel and deal people into coming over to switch to send lane, and like you justify it where you're like, oh well, I'm trying to provide and do the things, but you see what it really matters, at the end of the day, when you'll be able to, just provide that bit of encouragement, that moment. I don't know. I think I'm sure you were probably going to bring it up too, but I think that just kind of comes back to like my fitness aspect, of life, where I see a lot of people, right, like come up with excuses of like why we can't work out. And, I'm a business owner. I'm, a father of two, three, four, you know, everything, right? Like we can all throw like excuses out. And I think it's right just being able to be like conscious of like carving out that time and being diligent about it. That's where you help like move the needle. Like I may never like own a 7, 8 figure business, run an agency and just, spitting out things that I come across of people, who are probably in the same boat, but it's just, I make the time for it because I've found the value in it.
Right.
And I know it's, been able to help impact other people because, right, like they always say, like the results will show. You don't need to post on Instagram and YouTube about like all your life. You can just do it and people will see you. And then all of a sudden they'll be like, whoa, what have you been doing? I'm like, I've just been doing this thing called CrossFit for 5 days a week for the last 5 years.
Dude, 5 days a week, man. That's intense.
Yeah, I mean, some we've been shortened because we get tired, or you just got to take a vacation. So
Yeah. I personally don't think I've ever done CrossFit before. I think I did what's the thing where it's like the CrossFit per day or something like that, where you get like your daily workout or something like that?
I mean, there's like the main site, they still post basically every day what the main workout is.
Yeah.
So I know that they still post that, and you can basically do that, for free essentially.
Yeah.
They still post that in the main site. That was what made obviously CrossFit like super big, and in the military was people would just go to the main site, they would do the workout, and that was kind of like how it all started. And then obviously people would do gyms and, started opening up affiliates. And then, obviously CrossFit started to blow up, obviously that like 2009, 2010, and kind of just has grown ever since. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've delved into it too much, but contrasting, like I used to be a Planet Fitness member as well. So I definitely
yeah,
think the value, I actually worked there too for a minute.
that's
But yeah,
fun.
it's like I was a trainer actually at Planet Fitness for like close to a year, maybe 6 months, but it was more just like you'd come in and help people like get a workout plan. And then it was up to them if they wanted to come back in and work out with you. And I had a few people
Yeah.
who did work out with me and like they got results, but then most people would show up for a little bit and, stop coming, or like, I'm just chilling up here at the desk. Like, let's work out. Or, I could have been more assertive probably with that, but the benefit was seeing their results and stuff like that. But yeah, that was an interesting place to work. I think they forced me to sound the lunk alarm once on somebody, and I can't remember if I did it or not. If I was like, no, I don't want to do it.
That's
But yeah,
funny.
if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's like where if somebody drops the weights, you have to like flip the switch and then it like a siren goes off overhead. But yeah, I worked there at mid 20s, I would say. But yeah, and then I was a member there for like 2 years. I think it's a decent value for a gym because it's like 10 to 20 bucks a month. And if you actually go all the time, like you're getting a good value of it. But I mean, I think the
Yeah.
controversy is the pizza every week. I think it's like
Yeah.
Monday through Monday night is like pizza night, stuff like that. But yeah, no, I definitely think there's a CrossFit gym here locally, a couple that I've wanted to check out. But I usually just do most of my stuff at home. But I definitely like the CrossFit stuff. I just think my only experience with it was going to the website and being like, what's the workout of the day? And sometimes it would be like, I thought I remember one day it was like 10 pull-ups or something. And I was like, is this even do anything? Which now I'd be like, yeah, 10 pull-ups is decent, you know, but I do like
Yeah.
30 or 40 or 50. But I still think you get value out of 10 pull-ups in a day if you're doing good reps basically. So
Yeah, there's always, I mean, or like the days where it's like deadlift and, it's just like 5 sets of 3 reps and people would be like, that's
yeah,
it, like,
yeah,
yada,
no,
yada. And I'm like, hey, but that's where it comes down to just like staying disciplined, but also like knowing like, right, like volume, like percentages, right? Like working on percentages, saying like, hey, I'm going to try to start at this weight and then I'm going to try to increase, I might hit a wall or I might hit failure, and then backing yourself back down and like being able to say like, okay, like I hit this at failure, I'll come down 10 pounds, I'll try it again. Okay, great. I know that's like my threat max or whatever it is, and then being able to like continue to grow from there. So I think like at the end of the day, that's where it's just you learn, right? Like as you go along, like in your journey and as you grow, like, you know, obviously I've been doing this for a long time now too. And, I'm not like the elite. Like there are a lot of people that are better at me, but I think it just comes down to, right, just staying disciplined with it.
right.
Funny enough, like I'm probably like 10 years behind on reading Atomic Habits, but better late than never. But right, like it's just you find a good habit, whatever it is, whether it's Peloton or CrossFit or Planet Fitness or running. I mean, I know neighbors, they'll run in middle of the afternoon, and that's probably all they do. And at the end of the day, if you can find something that you can stay disciplined with, right, then stick with it, right? Like CrossFit is for anyone, but like maybe it's not for everyone, and that's the thing. You just got to find what you can do consistently day in and day out. So
Yeah, man. I will say on the Atomic Habits thing, I read that several years ago or listened to the audiobook. That's how I read books, basically, if you call it that. But yeah, man, I would say like I didn't get as much out of it as everyone else did. And I feel like I'm very focused on habits. Like I enjoy habits a lot, but I felt like it was a book where I understood the concept of it very early. And I felt like the book was long in terms of like, I felt like I understood it from the get go. And there were a few, things in there like a keystone habit and stuff like that that you take away. And I felt like those are good. But in terms of habits, the compound effect is one that I would actually recommend as like my number one book, because that was like the point where it showed me like, if you just improve a little bit every day, like you're going to see a massive changes over a long period of time. So to me, that was like my favorite book that like changed my life, I would say in 2020, and got me to be like, dude, I need to like hustle or put some more effort in,
right, yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
What are like your top 3 books, would you say, for like the X community?
It's funny because obviously you can see my bookcase back here, but I'd probably say my biggest one is Extreme Ownership. I
Mm,
read that. That was a really good book by Jocko Willink.
Jocko.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just being able to, I mean, really just own like the decisions and what you do like on a day-to-day basis. I had one, for example, just last night, my like personal life where like I did something and my wife was just like, why did you do that? And I was like, yeah, that was pretty bonehead of me. I was like, there's no really like beating around the bush about it. That was kind of on me. And I've actually read it twice now because I loved, and it kind of just kicks you in the face, I guess a little bit,
Yeah.
of
You
just
need
saying
that
like, yeah,
sometime.
yeah. So that's probably my first one. My second one is Grit by Angel Duckworth. I think Grit is really, I don't know, it sounds really cliche, but it's kind of just summed up my life, right? Like
Mm,
I don't have a special talent. I'm not the craziest, smartest person in the books, i.e., my 5 years in college. But I think there is one thing where you come back and you keep persevering and you have the persistence and a little bit of that like bonehead mentality where you just keep coming after it, day after day. And I think in the sales world where you just I guess try to be the last man in the arena, no matter what. That book was really helpful, just kind of making me realize that, like, what my grit does for me is like super
Yeah.
helpful. And then I'd say the last one, got to look back over here, because it's been reading so many different books as of lately. But the elimination of, or the ruthless elimination of hurry by
Mm,
John Mark Comer.
interesting
More of
title.
a more of a faith-based book. But obviously, right, just being able to find time to be able to eliminate the rush of being on social media, seeing the highlights, wanting to get to the next, phase of life, wanting to get to the next step of your business, but really being able to just like find moments in life where you can pause and just be able to reflect and, be able to be thankful and grateful for what you do have, was a super helpful book. Again, another book that I've read twice. So, right, like a great compilation of books. Atomic Habits will probably be up there. It'll probably just be a good reminder and kind of,
Yeah.
foundation builder of, things that I've already been able to do and, be able to help from there. So,
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. It's like if you're already doing a lot of the stuff that's in the book, like you're just like, okay, like cool, I'm already doing a lot of it. Those are interesting and I'd like to read those because I'm trying to make a list of my books for next year that I want to read and I've got like 4 or 5 at this point. But Extreme
mhm.
Ownership is one that I had heard about and want to read, but all of those sound really interesting. I think the elimination of hurry is super cool because I've personally felt that in the last couple months is that I kind of didn't make a lot of progress from 2021 to 2022 because I was like going so far up and down and like I was like, okay, I got to like achieve this goal like tomorrow or something like that. And then I would just like take so many risks that it would basically put me back to where I started. It's like one step forward, one step back, or one step forward, 2 steps back, stuff like that. It's like
Right.
once I realized like, okay, you need to align your time horizon to like a much longer time horizon. Like personally, I'm 37 now, so my goal is to be a millionaire in net worth by the time I'm 43. And I'm like, 6
Mhm.
years is a long freaking time, man. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it, but like in terms of just if you're doing that like compound effect, extreme ownership, like habit stuff, like for 6 years, like you're going to be super different in 6 years. And like you can accomplish so much in 6 years by just being consistent. It's crazy. So I'm
Yeah.
sure you
Yeah.
resonate with that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like since I've stopped like pushing so hard and come from this place of like need and being like, what's the word? Like not where I want to be. And it's like that it seemed like things are actually happening in a flow state a little bit more. If I just focus on the habits and just think long term, like things seem to go better. And I'm
Yeah.
more at peace
No,
with it.
for real. Yeah. And I think no matter what, like obviously, right, like just being like more of, I don't know, I guess just I don't know, not like run of the mill, but I'm not doing anything like crazy, right? Like I'd love to start a business, but I think at the end of the day, like I know it's so funny everybody talks about, right? Like if you don't have a goal, you don't have like a vision. And I mean, obviously a lot of things have changed in the last like few years, added a child to my life, got married, bought a
Awesome.
house, things like that. And at the end of the day, you can still be pursuing happiness, but obviously being able to have that fulfilling joy in your life of just saying like, yeah, I can be the great salesperson, husband, father right now and still achieve like great things in those aspects, right? Like being able to leave a great legacy and just teach your kids the right way to live life and, give them good values and good morals and, just lead by example and show them that like, hey, dad's not doing anything crazy. Like he's working hard to provide for you. And I think being able to just work out and have that daily discipline. I mean, those little things can go a long way. Like I feel like sometimes I get caught up in the world that I live in of, e-commerce with business owners and people building brands and stuff like that, where I'm like, am I supposed to be doing this? Like, you know, I don't keep selling to them. Like, I just want to make my own brand, but I understand
Yeah.
how hard it is and how difficult
Yeah.
it is. But that, hey, you know what? I'm content and happy where I'm at. I can build, right, like the wealth and everything, that you were talking about too, while still doing the things that bring me joy. I don't have to live someone else's life. So,
Yeah, man. It's definitely fun to build your own thing. And I think you're doing that in a way. You know, it's just that might be a different path, like you said. When I had my son, like I realized how much time I had wasted. The things that I would do with my time, like I thought they were going to do things. And then I'd be like, that was just slow return on investment, basically. Like that wasn't getting me anywhere, which I still feel like things happen like that now. But it's just part of the journey. But did you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I still, yeah, where it's like times I feel that, you know, where I might be overworking myself and saying like, hey, I could probably just put down my phone, for a while and just like sit there with my son and, be able to play with them and do stuff. Obviously there's been opportunities where, like I have a deal to close or, I've been trying to like, just follow up with someone and just keep something moving, obviously like keeping in the back of my mind where I'm like, hey, I'm like, is it what I'm doing right going to be able to provide value for like my life and like my family's life? Then like, yeah, okay. But there's a lot of like minuscule things where, I'll just be like, oh no, kind of like aimlessly, like, looking at X or Twitter and, doing something or, scrolling to like try to look for a brand that I'm trying to like reach out to. And I'm just like, I could probably do this tomorrow, like when he's
Yeah.
at daycare and, not really worry about it right in this moment, even though I'm thinking about it, and just having that like discipline to just say like, hey, right. And I think that comes back to what I try to remember from the ruthless elimination of hurry is just like, you know what? Like, does this really matter right now? Like in the legacy that I'm trying to like build for my son and,
Mhm.
trying to, emulate, for him. And, it kind of just makes me like, yeah, I can just put this down and for a second, like I don't need to worry about this. So
Yeah, man. No, I get you 100%. That's the hardest thing. Sometimes it's like you want to hustle and create this life and be like, yeah, dude, I need to be grinding 24/7. I just think it's a balance and like something that I'm working on too. So yeah, man, good stuff. In terms of being a dad, like I think one thing that I was really resonated and connected with you about is like your just kind of mentality around like it just sounds like you're owning that dad like that's going to be a great example of working hard and like staying in shape for your son. So like I just wanted to see like what's your mentality around like the workout stuff, staying in shape. Do you take pride in like being a dad that's in shape?
yeah, I mean, I think we were talking, I think we were messaging about it and you made the comment in the message of, people being content with like, dad bods and that and they find like I don't know if it's worth or they find, hey, I'm for my family financially, so I don't need to worry about my health. Your money ain't going to mean anything if you can't keep yourself healthy and, you're having health issues like going into your I mean, right? Or even like people probably in their late 30s now. I mean, just seeing how like the epidemic of like people just not taking care of themselves and stuff like that and I see all the time, and I even saw like a Twitter post the other day where it was like Macy's or something having models that dad bod models, as like the statues, and I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me! Like what? Like we've gotten
Yeah.
to this? Like
Yeah,
that's
man.
like insane! Like I'm just like, no, like that's just like such a I'm sorry for like inclusivity and stuff like that, but like just know like that's just not like a great example that like we want to be setting and like
Right,
putting out into
right.
the world. But I don't know, I mean, I don't know who on the Macy's marketing team, and I don't know if it was Macy's, and it was a retail like brick and mortar store, and I saw that
Yeah.
and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. So
Yeah, man. I definitely can understand that. And it's like, I think it seems like it's a crutch. Like, whenever you have that term dad bod, like, people can just say, okay, well, if it's like a thing, like, it's acceptable. And I think everybody has their standards, but I really vibe with the thing that I've seen from, like you said, Jocko is like, as a 37-year-old, I can feel like I'm getting old sometimes, but then like he's in his 50s and still like crushing it, dude. And there's so many like
yeah,
celebrities that are in their 40s and 50s and they're like in the best shape of their life. And I'm like, dude, it's like just enjoy, like you said, stop being in a rush. Like enjoy yourself, appreciate your youth. Like if I go to the gym and I see somebody in their 70s or 80s, and I'm like, it just really puts things in perspective for you just to like enjoy your youth. And like, even if you're not 20 anymore, like, you know, I feel like I'm in better shape now than I was then. I'm taking care of myself a lot better than I was. So it's just like your prime, I feel like, is what you make of it, you know?
Yeah, no, I was all the members in our gym, and yeah, even like people that I see that are in their 70s, and I CrossFit will highlight it every once in a while too, where you've got like a 74-year-old doing like a deadlift, and people are like, "Oh, they like should be deadlifting," and I'm like, "No, you should be," like because you don't understand like how what that does for your body from a
Yeah.
compound like lift perspective, and being able to like strengthen your bones and like your bone density for elders, right? Like that's so important. I mean, you think about it, right? Like being able to pick something off the ground, that's heavy, and being able to put it back down, like that's part of life, right? We
Right.
we reach down to like pick up our mail. We reach down to like pick up a box, an Amazon box. You don't think about it, but it's just like it's so important. But people just dust it off to the side. And like I don't know what it is, but I mean, obviously I have those days where I'm just like, man, I don't really want to go work out, like, or I don't want to do this. And even the whole like mindset of like, oh, I got to do this for my son. It's just like, no, like I'm tired. Like, I want to go home and like, lay on the couch or eat, and all the cliches, right? But I think at the end of the day, I don't know. It's funny now that I like labeled myself as like, Fit Dad Jake on X, but it kind of puts me out there to say like, I'm basically calling myself out to say like I want to stay fit and I need to stay fit to the end of my life. And how much if I had a dollar for every time, people say like, oh, just wait till you hit your 50s and stuff like that. And I'm just like, well, we'll talk when I get there, and you're 70 and I'm 50, and we'll see how it goes. So,
Yeah, man. They said that about 32. It's like
yeah,
whenever, or we're in your 30s now, like your body's not gonna be the same. And it's like, yeah, I can see that in terms of like soccer. Like I can't go play soccer every day because I'll be tired the next day. But like, I don't need to. I can do the workouts that are good for me. And then, like you said, like for that 74-year-old, doing a deadlift is probably like the thing that they want to do. Like if you take that away from them, like that's gonna make them mentally like in a worse spot because they're like, this is something that makes me happy. Like I don't have too many years left. Like I want to enjoy my life. Like I want to do some fucking deadlifts, bro. So
yeah,
like I think that like something that you're like at that point, just enjoy yourself. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, like they were like, let me enjoy a Coke, like I know it's bad for
yeah.
me. He lived to be 99. So I don't know what their diet was, but I'm just saying, man, it's like once you get to a certain point, people are like, I just want to enjoy my life. And if doing deadlifts or drinking Cokes is part of that, like, I mean, that can be whatever. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
that's good stuff, dude. I like hearing it. I was going to ask you, like, what your kind of like life philosophy is. I felt like you've kind of told me a lot. I kind of understand, but is there anything else you want to add, like sum it up in a motto or something?
When I gave my life, over to Jesus Christ, and just rededicated myself, that that was in line with being able to dive into CrossFit and have that daily discipline to kind of more or less like die to myself, and die to, I guess, my fleshly desires of like wanting to like eat chocolate, and be a eat all the greasy food and stuff like that, and really just have that discipline, but also like have like the faith that like keeps me grounded and saying like, hey, I'm content and joyful, and where I am and where I'm going in life. And you know doors will open, doors will close. And I've seen that a lot, I guess, in my short 30 years, and I'm sure I'll see that a lot more over the next 30 and there beyond. And just the mentality of people not shying away from faith, whether you've been hurt by it, you've been wronged, that there's always going to be a door that's open to you, in your community and your surroundings, that no matter how broken you may be, how lost you may feel, how left out you may seem like it might be, that there are going to be people that are going to welcome you with open arms. And I think that just has been a culmination together with like the fitness where, I was like doing all the wrong things, drinking as much as I could, eating like dirt. And, people could be like, oh, well, I don't know why start now. Right. And I'm so glad that I did. And it's just been an amazing journey. So try to tell that, faith and fitness journey hand in hand that it's been good, and you can change your life for the better and you can do things for a greater good, right? Beyond this life and, try to, inspire others at the same time. So
That's awesome, man. I love that. Yeah, dude, I
yeah,
like what you
yeah,
said about it's like the ego death kind of in a way is like you're putting something else or so like ahead of yourself. And I mean, you do that with your family, you do that with your faith. It's like you're living a life of service and leading by example. So I think that's really cool, man. I like it.
yeah.
I
I,
definitely
I
grew up
appreciate
in
it.
some in church, and I had my own experience, and I think like I've always felt like there was a part that I didn't understand from the church side. I want to understand the spirituality aspect of Christianity as well, beyond necessarily reading the Bible and taking things like for the text. Is just thinking like I kind of feel like there's only so much the Bible like could say to help us understand, because human beings level of awareness compared to like what was trying to be conveyed, I think there's like so many deep levels to it. And I think it's not necessarily like literal. It's like it can be very figurative. And so I think there's a
Yeah,
huge depth to the Bible that like I think just normally people don't understand. So I'm working on exploring those kinds of things on my own. Is like when Jesus said this, what all could that have meant? Understanding the spirituality side, I think is kind of like the missing link that I'm looking for right now too. So that's something that I'm working on.
yeah. I mean, I think there's like just different like symbology like within the Bible where it talks about I'm trying to think of like a good example, but it'll say one thing and like people will quite literally take it as what it means when really it meant something else. And right, like we do so much research, we have Google, we have Chat GPT. It's like I have a valuable resource that I always search through. It's called like Blue Letter Bible that I always look through, and I got to think of the name, so I'm gonna like just type it up really quick. But there's one where I think of that I always look at to kind of give me better context, and it's called Enduring Word. I was trying to think of the name, but Enduring Word and Blue Letter Bible, I always like look more into when I need like more context. His name's like David Gesick, I think is how you pronounce his last name. But that has like provided me like so much level of context because I don't know like deep theology. I didn't go to school, at seminary. But I need to be able to like study like the word and understand it a little bit more so that like when I do have conversations with people, like I can tell them like from like a context like standpoint. But I think at the end of the day, it's just like being able to have like a true like relationship with Christ and be able to, know that you can go to him with your struggles, with your praises, no matter what. And, be able to just openly like have that conversation. Cause I think so much people try to find avenues, love, you know, different ways of satisfaction and in the wrong things, and it leads down to just a life of like more or less just death and like decay. And really like, are you living like a free life and be able to, be joyful? Some people might say that on the surface, but like really in your heart and your soul, like, do you feel that? And yeah, I mean, I think that is the biggest thing for me. But again, right, it can know a lot of like what my passions are, and I try to live out my passion so that, I can have that opportunity to, talk to other people about it. But easier said
Yeah,
than
man.
done.
Yeah,
But obviously, try to do the best we can in life. So
100%, man. I'm kind of like
yeah.
in the boat that I think science and religion can coexist. On the show, I think Lessons in Chemistry, this guy said, it was a preacher, and he said, I think science is the how and religion is the why. Is like, I definitely think that there's things can be explained through science, but like there could be a divine force that also like affects things. And I think that's totally possible for both things to coexist together. And yeah, man, I think what, like you were saying, I think human beings, a lot of times, like we judge ourselves harder than other people. And then like it was when you get a church that's like not a judgmental church, but more an accepting place of like just understanding human beings and like that we're imperfect creatures. I think that's a beautiful thing, man. So I think that could be beneficial for pretty much anyone, you know, is like just to have that sanctuary, basically. I guess that's why they call it that, man. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Never
No,
thought
for
of it.
real.
So what are you working on now?
Yeah, so I basically am now with Lane. So I was at outside sales, so I basically did that for several months, and now I do basically an account executive. So doing deals, like kind of full sales cycle, reaching out to, brands, trying to see if there's an opportunity to be able to do business with us, and then, kind of go from there.
Okay. So what is Sunlane?
So we're an email, SMS, and like reviews marketing automation platform. So essentially, when you get emails, text messages from brands, we're basically like the platform that they use. So
Awesome.
probably heard of
Yeah.
heard of Mailchimp and stuff. So obviously, we're a direct competitor to them. There's
Okay.
obviously a lot of different players in space too. So
Yeah, man. So who's you guys target customer? Because I need an email, SMS, and I think I work with a lot of companies locally who, I mean, text marketing, I think is like the big thing. I started using that in my 9 to 5 like a year or two ago. And I will spend like I spend a lot for text messages, I would say, but like every time I send one out, it's like $1 to $3, depending on how much I type, basically. But like every time it's like 100 to 200x return on investment because people will like buy something, or it'll save me 2 hours of like emailing is like, you know, I might get 3 replies out of 100, or like for text, it's like people are all going to see it. And the people that need something based on that text are going to hit me back up. And then that could turn into hundreds or thousands of dollars.
yeah, we're focused, like our ICP is really like brands that are selling online that have a cart. So any brand that's, selling on like BigCommerce, Shopify, that's, selling like apparel, clothing, bed and linens, you name it. That's kind of like our target audience. So essentially like we're going after them and saying like, hey, you can be doing email and SMS, under one roof. By the way, we can do reviews and pop-ups, for free, and we own our infrastructure. So we kind of are able to manage like deliverability from that aspect. And basically Jimmy, our CEO, created SendLane when he was a brick and mortar turned e-commerce owner. And then he essentially was like the retention marketer. And he said, there's got to be a better way to do like email marketing. And so that's kind of where SendLane was born. And
Hmm.
ever since then, he kind of has been running the product and kind of being able to, I guess, reiterate it over the last like several years. And he's been very, I guess, bullish on doing, I guess, what's the right word? The LinkedIn, Twitter, being able to post there constantly. And he
Hmm.
hasn't posted about us. He posts more about strategy.
Hmm.
And that's really what we try to emulate is like, hey, we're going to be able to like help you with strategy based off of like what we can do within our product versus like our competitors. So
Cool,
what
man. Well,
cool,
thanks
dude.
for taking the time. How can people find you?
Wrong hand. Fit Dad Jake on X. But yeah, I mean, I'm on there, and then I mean, I don't get really on Instagram, so yeah, just find me here. That's,
Cool,
so
man. I'll let you know when the video comes out. Enjoy the tattoo, brother. I'll see you soon.